what's the point of having a nice? One of the things about a nice home, person feels a certain calmness. It brings a person a certain um, clarity of mind, or but obviously, there's levels. Some people overdo it too. You know what I mean? There's something called overdoing a nice, something called a nice house, and something called a mansion. You know what I mean? Not that a person has to strive that I have to have a mansion of some sort. Okay, um, we are on in the art school. What are we on? 23B. Take a look in the art school. 23B, number 2. Okay. The last thing we said. We'll go back to Amar Rav Huna on the first column. Harogo B'ner, we said, Harogo B'ner, if someone's careful about lighting the Shabbat candles, they're careful about the Hanukkah candles, they're very diligent in that mitzvah. So we say, because we said that the light of the menorah, the light of the Shabbat candles will bring the light of Torah to the person. Or they have the children, the Gemara is saying, will be children that will be Torah scholars. And then we said, Azov mezuzah, someone's careful about mezuzah. He says, Zoch ladir no, will have a very nice home. And then we say, Hazor b'tzitzit. If you're careful about tzitzit, but the mitzvah of tzitzit, so there, what is the blessing that a person will get? Is zocher l'talit na'eh. He will merit to have a beautiful talit. Meaning he'll be able to afford a very nice garment that'll put the tzitzit on too. So that will be some of the reward. Of course, every mitzvah is much more. Good morning, Boker Tov. There's a lot of other rewards for every mitzvah. Of course, there's the next world that a person will get, but these are some of the benefits that a person will have in this world. It says, Hazahi b'kiddush hayom. If somebody is very careful in kiddush hayom, what does it mean he's very careful about kiddush hayom? He's very careful in the wine of Shabbat, Friday night. We said earlier that it's a special mitzvah to have wine over generally over pot, over bread to kiddush. You have to have bread, but sometimes there's a possibility of substituting bread instead of the wine. But we're saying it's a special mitzvah to have wine. So if someone's careful, the kiddush hayom zocher u'mamale garbe yayin. He'll go ahead and he'll merit to have a lot of wine, fill up a lot of pitchers of wine. Hashem will bless him. So a lot is midah keneged midah. If you're careful with the mitzvah that deals with wine, you're going to be blessed with wine. You're careful with tzitzit, which is connected with a talit, you'll be blessed with a beautiful garment. You're careful with mezuzah, you'll be blessed with a beautiful home. So these are some of the blessings that will come for these mitzvot. Rav Huna havi ragil dahave chalef v'tanei pitcha d'Rav Nagra. Rav Huna he constantly passed the entranceway near the doorway of the house of Rav Avin HaNagar. Rav Avin was a Nagar, he was a carpenter, and Rav Huna he was always passing that home. And what happened? Chazad havish ragil b'shragi tuva. He saw that Rav Avin, he's passing by the rabbi's house, and Rav Avin, what was he? He saw that there was always a lot of candles lit in honor of the Shabbat. There was always a lot of candles lit in the honor of Hanukkah. Now we said regarding Hanukkah, we know that the basic mitzvah, you can fulfill the mitzvah with one candle, right? Technically, one candle every night, right, Mr. Haber, would be the basic obligation. Then there's Mahadrin, where according to how many people are in the house, every night you have according to how many people are in the house tonight. If there's 5 people in the house, you have five candles the first night. If 5 people in the house on the second night, you have 5 candles the second night. Then there's the Mahadrim and a Mahadrin where you add every night another candle. And he saw there's always so many Hanukkah lights. Always, every time a Hanukkah you pass by the man's house, there's always a lot of lights. Or on Shabbat, he saw there's a lot of Shabbat, always a lot of light in the house on Shabbat. And you look, you see through the window, wow, there's a lot of light. Now, obviously, that's part of being Mahadrin. That's part of beautifying the mitzvah when you have a lot of light, right? Like we said, you only need 1 candle every night for Hanukkah, but there's many more. But you see more than that. And Shabbat, technically, how many candles do you need for Shabbat? Really, the basic mitzvah is 1 candle for Shabbat. Meaning, but the custom is that we use 2 candles. The common for many people is because of Zochar v'Shamor. Hashem said in the 10 Commandments, he said, remember the Shabbat and guard the Shabbat, not to violate the Shabbat. And it was said at one time, in the same breath, something that a person can't do. You can't say, I can't say 2 words at the same time, Morning Simon. But so you saw on Shabbat, now there were a lot of candles. So now it sounds, now we said there are other customs. Some people have 7 candles every Shabbat. Friday, they light for Shabbat 7 candles corresponding to the days of the week. Some people have 10 candles corresponding to the 10 commandments. Some people have candles that correspond to how many people are in the house. So we see from the Gemara how many members of the house. We see from the Gemara this concept of having, it was a special thing to have many candles. That means you have a lot of light in the house. And what's the point of having all that light? Because that's also, we said, it's part of Shalom Bayit, right? If you have a lot of light in the house, you feel you're in a better mood. You don't feel you're in the dark, right? It's really brought down that every room, there should be light. Meaning there should be light at every room, wherever you go in the house, you won't fall, right? So I think a lot of rooms, I think if you have a door, you have a hallway, foyer, whatever you call it, outside your room, that there's lights on the floor, so there's always light for those bedrooms. You could, not that you have to have light in your bedroom, but you could have the fact that there is, if you want to see in your bedroom, you shouldn't fall. You just keep the door open in the lobby, and you have that hallway light. That's why not everyone's lighting, but the concept that every room that you frequent in the house should have the ability that you're not going to fall. So a lot of people have, a Shabbat lamp, certain types of things that, how the Shabbat lamp works is that it's like a lamp that has like a cover around it. So the only time if you want the light, you just move the cover and then the light is there. So that is, you saw that they had a lot of candles. They had a lot of candles in honor of the Shabbat. And it obviously was not something that he was something special, because the common person might have only had 2 candles corresponding to Zochar v'Shamor. So what did the rabbi say when he saw this phenomenon, when he saw that there were so many candles in this person's house? So what did he do? Amar, he said, something special is going to happen from this home. They're going to be 2 great people are going to come out from this home. A home where there is so many lights of Shabbat candles that they're very careful in the midst of lighting the Shabbat candles in a very special way. And they're very careful in the mitzvah of Hanukkah, and they beautify the mitzvah. So you know what will happen? They're going to have 2 great people, because remember we said that you're careful in Shabbat candles. If you're careful in the mitzvah of Hanukkah, what's going to happen to you? You're going to have children that are Torah scholars, right? And therefore, he says, since it sounds like from our Gemara, the connection is that, here it's just not only being careful, here we say it's also beautifying the mitzvah. You beautify the mitzvah, because this is something which is going above the basic obligation, right? So it's not just haragil ben there, right? Because the Gemara used the language before, if you do it on a regular basis, um, you will, you're careful, you never miss, so to speak. But here we're saying it's the beautification of the mitzvah, going above and beyond. You'll have two great scholars coming from this home, and you know what happened? And that's what happened. Nafki minayu, from this home of Rav Avin, the carpenter, who was careful always to have a lot of lights for Shabbat candles and a lot of lights for the Hanukkah. Two great Torah scholars came out from that home. Rav Idi bar Avin, Rav Chia bar Avin. Rav Idi, the son of Avin, and Rav Chia bar Avin. A lot of times we see from here that the children grow up to be a certain type of child. It's the mitzvot that the parents do bring that a great merit that are going to be helpful, that the child will become such a Talmud Torah scholar. At the end of the day, the child has to make decisions in his life. It's not, and make decisions that they're going to spend the time learning Torah, become a Torah scholar. So the Rambam says in Hilchot Shuvah, every person has the ability to be wise in Torah, or do you think you have the ability to be foolish in Torah? Right? Right, Adam? Is that correct? They want to not know anything, right, Simon? They don't want to learn. They'll be foolish. They won't know. They want to learn. They could be a chacham. They could be a talmud. They could still be the businessman, but they could be a Torah scholar. They could be a carpenter. So that is like their father was, but because of the merits of one's father, of what one's father, that helps that child to become a certain type of child. Rav Chizda have a ragil, to have a chalif v'tanei apitcha the nasha de Rav Shizvi. Rav Chizda was always passing by the entranceway of the house of Rav Shizvi, and the entranceway of the house of the father of Rav Shizvi. That's Wamshan and Rashi. The question is, what does the word Bein Nasha mean? Does it mean the father or the father-in-law? That is the two explanations that are brought down. So Rav Chizda was passing by on a regular basis the entranceway of Rav Nasha, of the father-in-law or father of Rav Shizvi. So you can understand that by Hanukkah, when you pass by the entranceway of the house, you have the Hanukkah candles are outside, able to see what's going on. You're able to see it's open. The question is, regarding the Shabbat, if you pass by the house, most probably, obviously, you see from the window, you see the lights that are, lights of Shabbat, most probably inside, or you see that the house is lit up, right? You pass by somebody's house, and I presume the lights that are going on inside the house will illuminate even when you're right outside the house, right? If you're walking by a house, right? If the Shabbat candles are on, you can imagine most probably what the sizes of these houses were, 2x2, so to speak, small, little, most probably nothing. And if there's light in the house, it's recognizable. It's already when you're passing by in the street. Not that people are looking into. You're not supposed to be. I don't think you're not supposed to look into people's houses through the windows, type of things. I don't think people are supposed to be looking into other people's houses generally. But I think that most probably the illumination of the light, morning miles would be would be apparent outside. Because of, again, you're in the dark, and remember, there's no street lights over here. We're talking about there's no street lights, there's no lights anywhere in the street. So the street where you're walking is totally pitch dark. So obviously, most probably the light that's going on inside the house would go ahead and illuminate. So now he's passing by the house of the father-in-law or the father of Shizvi, and also he saw the same thing. But what did he see? He saw that he was careful, that the father or father of Shizvi was careful in lighting the Haviragil Bishrogi Tuva. Also, that he was a lot of candles. And here, some understand this Gemara, the Marsha, that either it was the Shabbat candles or it was the Hanukkah candles, because the Gemara before, when the person was careful in both the mitzvah Shabbat candles, both the mitzvah of Hanukkah candles, then he said there's going to be two Torah scholars. Why did he say that the home is going to have two Torah scholars going to come out from the house? Because the host was careful in two mitzvot, the mitzvah of Shabbat candles and the mitzvah of Hanukkah candles. Because you're careful in both mitzvot, the corresponding to each mitzvah will be a Torah scholar. But here he's only confident that one Torah scholar is going to come out from this home, because it was a specific mitzvah that he saw that the home was careful in. Either was the mitzvah of Shabbat candles, or was a mitzvah of Hanukkah candles. Now, so what did he say? A great man, an Adam Gadol, is going to come out from this house. And what happened over here? And who came out from this house? Nafak min Gava Rabba Nafak Mehacha, and Nafak min Minayu Rashizvi. Rashizvi came out. That was the person that came from the home. This was who was born from this home that they were careful in this lighting of either the menorah or having a lot of lights. You hear that, Miles? They had a lot of lights on the menorah. Again, but it had to be a specific amount of lights, as we saw, that the specific, either, according to the people of the house, or adding every night of the week, every night of the holiday, or it was because he saw there was a lot of candles for Shabbat. Then there were, as a result of that, he gave the blessing. He saw that someone great is going to come out from this house, and Rosh Hashanah came out. Meaning Hashem looks at what the mitzvah that you do. You're lighting this. You're being careful in lights. I'm going to give you someone who's going to illuminate the world. You know that the ladies, when they pray, when they light the candles for Shabbat, what do they say when they light the candles for Shabbat? There's a special prayer that they say. And what do they say? That they should merit to have children that are what? Torah scholars. And there's a very beautiful song. Right? You know the song? There's a song, it's a great song. If you don't know it, I want you now to look for it. It's a great song where the women, it's a song that not sung, it's a prayer by the women, sung by the men. Now maybe I will find it if I can find it in the lighting of the candles here. It's a great song, and the song is connected to asking that you should have children that are Torah scholars, that should light up the world, And why specifically do they have that prayer? Because since they're lighting the lights of Shabbat candles, so the light of the Shabbat candles should, we said, if a person's careful in the mitzvah of Shabbat candles, he'll have children that are Torah scholars. So therefore, it's appropriate that the prayer is a prayer that's connected with asking for children that are Torah scholars. So it comes out, it's not just a prayer, you always think about the fact, the power of the prayer of the women. When the women pray, it's very powerful. It's not only the prayer of the woman that's the powerful point, is that the lady is careful to light the candles. The other thing to note is that it says, according to the Pshat, that it was the father-in-law of Rav Shizvi. That was Bein Nasha. According to the commentaries that say Nasha means father-in-law, that the father-in-law of Shizvi was careful with the lights, and he got a son-in-law who would be a Torah scholar. So, but the son-in-law, but he says, I see from this home, a great person is going to be born from this home. But it's not his son, it's his son-in-law. Because we're saying, according to the Pshat, it was that the rabbi saw that Rav Shizvi, that the father-in-law of Rav Shizvi was very careful with the lighting of the candles. And he said, from this home, from this place will come out a great person. And who came out? The son-in-law. Right. He made it was his son, it was the rabbi's daughter, the person's daughter married this man, but it's called that he came out from this home because a son-in-law is like a child, like a son. I think that's a beautiful concept to realize that, and that's maybe how people have to treat their son-in-law like a son, to realize it's like a son, and daughter-in-law is like a daughter, and that is what. How do you like that, Mr. Haber? Is that beautiful? And that's Adam, that's it. Meaning, years later, you have a great person going to come from this home. Who's going to be this great person? From this home, your son-in-law. That's from this home. That's the great person that's going to come from this home. The other thing we could look at, you should learn also, it says he was careful. He says who was being careful in the mitzvah of the lighting, right? The language of the Gemara is this person passed by the entrance of Rav Reuven, the Havi Ragil, that there was a lot of lights. The Havi Ragil b'shraga tuva. Does it mean he did a lot? Now, if it was Hanukkah, you can understand why the person of the home was the one who was lighting the Hanukkah candles, because it's even though women are obligated in Hanukkah menorah, but the man of the house, and also the man of the house lights and let's say the other members of the house are also obligated, but for the house you have to have one. For the Svardim, it's one menorah for the whole house, right? And the husband is the one who lights that menorah. Even for the Ashkenazim, that every person lights the menorah, the wife doesn't light the menorah generally by the Ashkenazim. We say, Ishto kigufo, your wife is like yourself, and therefore she's like you, and therefore she doesn't have to light her own candle. So it sounds like he lit. But if we're saying it also goes regarding Shabbat, so it sounds like Shabbat, the husband is also involved in the candles, right? So, some say, so now the question is, what is the husband's involvement in the candles on Shabbat? Today's day and age, what some people do is, it's brought down that a man should be involved in the Shabbat candles. So some people have the man lights and blows out the fire. There's some places do it. Okay, many places the man doesn't do anything, just the woman is doing the whole thing. But some people, the men light and then they blow it out just to makes it better. Because when you light something that was already lit and then it's blown out, the wick is better. So some people do that. So it sounds like from the Gemara here, unless it was talking about Shabbat, if the wife wasn't wasn't alive, and the rabbi and the person in the house was being very careful. But again, that wouldn't make so much sense because we're talking about children that are going to come out from this. So therefore, if the children are going to come out from them, therefore there's a wife there. So it's just the language of the Gemara that says they were careful in lights. So that's something that to note that point of maybe the wife is lighting in, maybe a wife is the one who's saying the bracha and lighting, and in the dining room or the table. Maybe the man is lighting the candles in other places around the house. So that's something to think about. In the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Samach Gimel, let's take a look at Shulchan Aruch. Reish Samach Gimel, Sif Aleph. Let's see what it says. It says you should be careful to make a nice ner for Shabbat. And he says some, which means one light, one nice light for Shabbat, but some do 2 wicks, like we spoke about, because of corresponding to Zochov and Shamo that was said in the 10 Commandments. The Ashkenaz rabbis add, you can add, you want to add to more than 2, you don't have to stay at 2. You want to have 3, you want to have 4, you could do more, which is in sync with our Gemara. Our Gemara says, he passed by the house and there's a lot of light. The person in the house lit a lot of lights in honor of the Shabbat, meaning a lot of light doesn't sound like 2, right? Therefore, we see that would be why you have all these different customs when it comes to lighting Shabbat candles, because it's not a specific amount necessarily. Like we said, okay, some people want to do it corresponding to the 10 Commandments, corresponding to the Zachav Shamor. There's different how people want to do it, but technically the Ramah said you want to do 3, you want to do 4, you want to do, and he said that's the minhag. He says that's the minhag. Now the Shulchan Aruch in the next halacha says, Echad Hanashim, both the men, the Echad Hanashim and the women, Chayavim liyot b'bateim ner daluk b'Shabbat. They got to make sure in their house there's candles. It's not only the ladies have the mitzvah of candle lighting, the men have the mitzvah. But the custom is the lady is the one who does it. The Shulchan Aruch says, the Shulchan Aruch says the women are more, so to speak, involved in this mitzvah because they are commonly found in the house and they are involved in the needs of the house. Who's the one who's taking care of all the food preparations in honor of Shabbat? Usually it's the woman who's doing the cooking and so on. And therefore, having the Shabbat candles is part of the things that are needed for the house. And therefore, the woman is the one who's, according to Shulchan Aruch, it's much more of a practical point why the ladies are the ones who are very involved. And the Chafetz Chaim says, even if the husband wants to light himself, the lady gets preference, unless if there's so many lights, he could also light. Meaning to say, or different rooms in the house, you want to go ahead and do it. And when she gives birth, he says, and I presume she's not available to light, for the first Shabbat, the husband will light. See, people make a mistake. If a person is single and he's in his own apartment, he's not married, and he's in his own apartment, they don't realize that he has to light candles for Shabbat. A lot of single men don't realize that they have an obligation to light Shabbat candles. For someone's husband, let's say a person, whatever the case is, that the man is single, he has a responsibility, he has his own apartment, to light the Shabbat candles. Then the Chafetz Chaim brings down another reason why the ladies are the one that get their tap for the mitzvah to do they get first crack, so to speak, at lighting. I mean, if a lady's running late, Erev Shabbat, whatever it is, and she's busy with something, she got caught up with one of the children, and she's gonna have difficulty lighting the candles properly on time, then the husband just has to light the candles. And that's what has to be done. Another reason is that the story of Adam and Chava, right? Chava gave Adam to eat from the tree, right? Chava gave Adam to eat from the tree. She encouraged him to do that sin, and that caused death to Adam Arishon. And therefore, she caused death. I think the language is he kavta. She extinguished Orosh al Olam, the light. And therefore, because she brought death to the world, to the light of the world, which is Adam, so she will now fix it. It's a tikkun. She will fix it by going ahead and what? And bringing light to the world. She took away light. She took away Adam, and therefore she will bring back light. But the Chafetz Chaim says, nevertheless, it's good, it's appropriate, it is tov. It doesn't say it's required that the man be involved, but tov she'ish yitaken hanerot. The man fixes the nerot, maybe he puts it into its spot, place the candles into the candelabra. That is regarding the. Now we also have interesting halacha. If what happened, a lady forgets to light one week, right? There's a whole discussion of what regarding that, regarding the following week. Okay. The Gemara continues. The Bityu, the Rabbi Yosef, the wife of Rabbi Yosef, havet ma'achra u'madlakatla. She would light the candles very close to dark. And here we're going to see from the Gemara why he told them you should not, there's no question that she lit the candles before Shkiyah, before sunset. There's no question that the big rabbi, great rabbi's wife, right, Mr. Haber, she didn't light after sunset. But not only she was careful to light before sunset, she also added to Shabbat. There's something called mitzvah tos for Shabbat. Supposed to add. Supposed to if sunset today is at 8, I'll give you a guess. Let's say 8:25. You're not supposed to light at 8:24 and 55 seconds. And you're supposed to add to the Shabbat. Moshe Feinstein has a letter where he recommends, I think, at least 2 minutes. To add at least 2 minutes, you should try to add at least 2 minutes. I'm not saying if you go within, technically if you're stuck and it's 1.5 minutes, you can still do malacha morning. But if it's vitally necessary, you know what I'm saying? But you're supposed to add certain amount of time. So you should add. Also, you have to realize sometimes some clocks are off. You know what I mean? Also, this clock has it at this time. The Verizon clock and the different clocks have different times. You have to be very careful. So she lit the Shabbat candles very close, let's say 3 minutes before Shabbat, 5 minutes before Shabbat. And he wasn't happy about that. He says you should not wait, you should not do it so close to Shabbat. Now, why did she light it so close to Shabbat? Because remember, we want that the Shabbat candles should be recognizable, that I'm lighting it not for my personal, not because I'm doing it for like a regular light around the house. I'm doing it, we have the concept for Hanukkah, that it should be very clear, this is not a personal menorah from personal use. The Hanukkah menorah is for the mitzvah of Hanukkah. Therefore, the same thing is regarding the Shabbat. She was holding that, it should be clear that I'm lighting it for Shabbat. Not that I'm just lighting it just like any other day. I light candles around the house. Therefore, she lit very close to Shabbat. But the rabbi's going to tell you, you should do a little bit, make a little fence. We'll see what she's going to say based on a pasuk. She light a little earlier. Maybe that explains a little bit why we light 18 minutes before Shabbat. We'll see. We don't light just right. We try do 18 minutes or 20 minutes before Shabbat. In Israel, they do someplace 45 minutes before Shalayim. I think they try to not to play it so close, but we're going to see. You're not supposed to do it way too early, not too late. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Asaf. All the best. Thank you all for coming.